In this video, I'm going to show you how I've produced a song from a demo recording. So this video is going to be all about music arrangement. For those of you that don't know, my wife and I, we're a songwriting team. She writes songs and then she'll produce demo recordings in her Pro Tools studio. And those demos come down to this studio at the end of our garden where we do overdubs, we do a bit of rearranging, mixing, mastering, all that sort of stuff. So in this video, I'm going to show you how we've turned a demo of a song called Breath of Fresh Air into a full-blown production. So let's have a listen to the demo.
Things had got stale, way beyond the pale. The future held nothing in store. I was stuck, cursing my luck. Then you turned up with a smile at my door. You're like a breath of fresh air, shedding warm light on gloominess everywhere. A new zest for living in each moment we share. You're like a breath of fresh air. I'd hung up my hat, thinking that would be that. Resign myself to living alone, but my heart took flight. Yeah, love at first sight when you dragged me from my discomfort zone. You're like a breath of fresh air, shedding warm light on gloominess everywhere. A new zest for living in each moment we share. You're like a breath of fresh air. Where have you been all my life? How did I manage before? Where pain and heartache were right, there's no loneliness anymore. Because you're like a breath of fresh air, shedding warm light on gloominess everywhere. A new zest for living in each moment we share. You're like a breath of fresh air, shedding warm light on gloominess everywhere. A new zest for living in each moment we share. You're like a breath of fresh air.
Okay, not a bad song at all, and it's a really good demo as well. It really gets across a mood and a vibe and an energy. There's a few moments in there that I weren't too sure of, and I'll show you later in the video what I did to change those moments. But first, let's take a little look into the demo session that Georgie put together. Very straightforward. We've got an instance of Superior Drummer 3. We both use all the time. We absolutely love this. She used some grooves in here, and as you can see, she dragged them across to the Pro Tools timeline. For the keyboard arrangements, Georgie used easy keys for both a mellotron sound that you heard in the chorus and an electric piano as well that you hear throughout the song. And she's used loops and arranged the chord structure for the song. All very straightforward. She's recorded a DI bass as a guide to give me an idea what she would like, and an acoustic guitar that she recorded with one microphone that we hear in the chorus. And of course, below that, a lead vocal line. Now, as I said, I like the moods, I like the tempo, I like the dynamics, I like the melody. I love the mellotrons. Blimey, I really like those. But there was a few moments in the arrangement that I weren't too keen on. Now, I like the drum pattern at the beginning, but that side stick just feels a bit much. And I didn't like the fact that there was no gap between the verse and chorus. It needed a breath, for want of a better words. Now, even though this is a 6-track recording, it does sound quite big, but there's not enough moments in the journey of the song. And this is where I focus most of my efforts.
Things had got stale, way beyond the pale. The future held nothing in store. I was stuck, cursing my luck. Then you turned up with a smile at my door. You're like a breath of fresh air, shedding warm light on gloominess everywhere. Unused as we're living in each moment we share. You're like a breath of fresh air. I hung up my hat, thinking that would be that. Resigned myself to living alone, but my heart took flight. Yeah, love at first sight when you dragged me from my discomfort zone. You're like a breath of fresh air, shedding warm light on gloominess everywhere. Unused as we're living in each moment we share. You're like a breath of fresh air. Where have you been all my life? How did I manage before? Where pain and heartache were right, there's no loneliness anymore. Because you're like a breath of fresh air, shedding warm light on gloominess everywhere. Unused as we're living in each moment we share. You're like a breath of fresh air, shedding warm light on gloominess everywhere. Unused as we're living in each moment we share. You're like a breath of fresh air, of fresh air. Shedding warm light on gloominess everywhere. Unused as we're living in each moment we share. You're like a breath of fresh air.
Okay, let me walk you through this session. There's a lot going on, so pay attention. First thing I changed in the arrangement was a section at the end of one of the choruses and at the end of Georgie's original demo mix. And it was just where the chord structure went D, E, and then it resolved to an A. And I weren't too keen on that. It sounded too resolved for my liking. The song's dark and moody, well, the arrangement and the mood is, and I wanted to keep that sort of sorrow in the energy of the music because that works as a nice contrast to the very heartfelt lyric. So I got rid of all those sections and kept that chord structure that was D, E, F sharp minor. So once I sorted that out, I honed in on the drums. And I didn't need to do a lot. I think she's done a great job arranging the loops. But the problem with working with MIDI drum loops is that they don't always work straight out of the box for the production that you're working on. Now, as I mentioned earlier when we were listening to the demo of this, I pointed out that there were a few too many side sticks. You can see I've muted those out and I've added a few extra kicks. Just to kind of act a little bit like a heartbeat over to the transition from verse to chorus. Put some space in. And in the chorus, I worked on the kick drum pattern so that it can work with what I worked out on the bass, so that the bass guitar and the drums become one instrument. They weren't really gluing together musically before.
Breath of fresh
Boom,
air,
boom, boom.
shedding.
So apart from some minor little tweaks in the drum arrangement, that was pretty much sorted. But I did change the kick and snare sound to be a little bit more attacky, a little bit more in your face. I just used a little bit of EQ to bring out the click of the kick and some gentle 1176 style compression as well. But these drum libraries in Superior Drummer really don't need a lot of work to sound fantastic. Right, let's move across now to the main keyboard instrument, that being the electric piano. Now, she used Toontrack's Easy Keys. Really good product, this, for getting keyboard parts down quickly. And the only change I really made here was the blend control here between line and amp. I believe it was over here, and it just sounded a little bit too crispy for my liking. So I just rolled it back to the line just to clean it up a little bit. It sounds much more focused there. Now, the moment in the song that really excites me is when the mellotrons come in. Now, she used the Mellotune pack in Easy Keys to get this down. It sounded absolutely brilliant, but I wanted to take this a step further. So I added a duplicate clip, so the same performance on a new track below that, and I used UVI's Mellow on a choir patch just to sort of thicken that concept and that flavour. Works really nicely. Now let's move across to the acoustic guitar that Georgie recorded, and you can see I chopped it up a little bit because there were some timing issues. Didn't need to do a lot. But it just gets it into the pocket more. Now if we move across to the next chorus, you'll notice that there's two. But Georgie only recorded one guitar. Well, she recorded one performance all the way through of the guitar. So I had the same performance, but obviously it sounded slightly different on each chorus. And I just used a couple of sections, put them together, panned one hard left, one hard right, so that the second chorus had something slightly different going on. And again, I just tightened up the timing on this a little bit, just to make sure that there wasn't anything catching our ear in the timing department. Now, once all that was sorted, it was bass time. I DI'd my P bass into my pre, got an instance of Avid 11 on there, some EQ just to take the top end off a little bit, and an 1176 just to sort the dynamics out. And this is what it sounds like. Just a nice, safe, mellow sounding bass line, does the job. But the chorus, well, because there's a lot going on here, mellotrons, acoustic guitar, big punchy drums, I wanted the bass to do something as well, just to darken the mood a little bit and to make it a little bit more intense. For this, I loaded a second track, used the same bass settings that I've got on the verse 1 and verse 2, but I used some parallel processing to get a really big, fat, fuzzy bass sound. Absolutely love that sound. Really simple to set up. A couple of buses, a couple of mono auxiliaries. On one of the buses, I used pitch and transposed it down an octave to get that really low sub sound. And on the other auxiliary, I used an instance of Blue Cat Destructor, and I bit crushed it basically down to 4 bits, which is ridiculous. But it gives that nice sort of fuzzy sounds that I was after in this song. And all I did was balance these buses to get the desired sound, and then parallel processing bits, and mixing in the affected to the unprocessed, was done on the auxiliary. Now in the second chorus, I introduced some drum stacking, nothing crazy, just 2 moments where it just thickens up the main snare beat. I just wanted a sound of air, so there's a nice loop in Loop Cloud that just goes. And I stack that with a more sort of in-your-face little hit. It's only subtle, but I like it. Really simple. And just to decorate that chorus, I added a tiny little glockenspiel right up in the top ends, just to sort of lighten the mood ever so slightly. Because this song has got a really nice, heartfelt lyric to it, I still wanted just a little bit of pretty in there. Really simple. Now, what else have we got? Well, let's put the lead vocal in.
Things had got stale.
And there really wasn't a lot I needed to do to this. It's a really well recorded vocal, a little bit of de-essing, a little bit of EQ. The old faithful CLA 2A works on every vocal. Bit of Marg to bring some air out in the top ends, and a tiny bit of a L1 limiting, because there are moments in there where she is belting, and this just helps to push that back a little bit. For ambiences, we've got a little bit of exponential audio Excalibur. I haven't a clue how to use this, but I just flick through presets, and when I find something I like, I use it. And yeah, we just use a little bit of chorus shimmer that has a tiny bit of ambience on it as well.
Things had got stale.
That's just lovely. Does something really nice out in the width of the stereo image. And we've also got another reverb going on here, Exponential Audio's R4. Just a small plate, just something to tickle your ears in the top end.
Things had got stale. Way beyond the pale.
Right, let's jump back to chorus 1. And this is where I introduced a backing vocal arrangement done by yours truly.
You're like a breath of fresh air, shedding warm light on gloominess everywhere. Unused as for living in each moment we share. You're like a breath of fresh air.
When I performed these, I got the arrangement right on the piano first, and it was just a case of singing the different lines. But I sung all 6 of these from start to end, and then I just chopped a few bits away because I felt a couple of the lines were competing with the lead lines. So, top tip, when you do record lots of vocals, sometimes just take little bits away to make sure that you're not getting in the way of that lead vocal, because that's the most important part of any production. And I just used that arrangement 1, 2, 3, 4 across the choruses. So in the second verse, I had to introduce a new idea. Otherwise, it just sounded a bit too samey. You've got to give them something slightly different in the second verse. So I introduced a very simple little synth line to echo the lyric, "My heart took flight." So I wanted something to sound as though it was kind of taking off.
Resign myself to living alone, but my heart took flight. Yeah, love at first sight when you dragged me from my discomfort zone.
I just used a little bit of pitch bend and modulation. I can't even remember what synth I used for that. Let's have a look. Of course, Hybrid, very good synth this. I've used it for years. Now, let's move across to the bridge. I haven't quite finished the bridge yet, if I'm honest. I think it's missing an idea or two, but I've left it open for the minute until I can think of something suitable to go in here. But I have got, again, that kind of synth top line sound, just to kind of symbolise that it's a different section to the chorus. Nice and simple. Now, the last couple of rounds of the chorus is where things go from, let's say, 8 to 10. I really wanted the last few rounds to explode. So the bass is still doing the same thing. The acoustic guitar tracks left and right. We've got both the mellotrons going, we've got the backing vocals going. It was time for electric guitars. And again, like the acoustic guitars, double tracked, 1 pound hard left, 1 pound hard right.
Like a breath of fresh air, shedding warm light on gloominess everywhere. Unused as for living in each moment.
And I didn't use any guitar amp plugins on this. No, my old faithful Brian May guitar, Shure SM7 on an electric guitar amp, and the amp was very loud in the room, but it does what it needs to do. It just grabs the listener's ear to kind of symbolise that things have changed. We may be getting to the end of the song soon. But the guitars alone weren't enough for me to develop the song. Had to think outside the box a little bit. So I used some string libraries and did this. A little bit of a call and response. Then a pipe organ for the very last rounds, with that synth that was introduced in the bridge. And if we put in the mellotrons, we get this lovely big arrangement. Now, in the original demo, the song ended on that D, E, A chord arrangement, and I didn't like that. It sounded like too full stoppy, too happy. So I added an ending, and I introduced a live upright acoustic piano, and I stole a bit of the lead line on the chorus, vocal that is, and changed the mood a little bit. Well, quite a lot actually. The idea really was to kind of make it feel as though her inner voice was speaking at this point. Just wanted that section to feel more inward. So, how did I get that sound? Well, first up, let's look at the piano. Now, I was quite extreme with the EQ on this because I wanted a certain sound. I didn't want the piano to sound too pretty. So I took away a lot of the low end. Big old boost up there somewhere just to bring out the top ends. That's being run into Excalibur again, and I'm using a tremolo preset. I think just makes it sound absolutely brilliant. If I just bypass all those plugins, you can hear the piano naked. EQ, Excalibur, R4 reverb. Just makes it feel more dreamy. Now the vocal, heavily processed, I would say. As I said, I just used a sample from one of the choruses, and I run it through iZotope Vocal Synth 2. And I used it in MIDI mode, which enables me to use a MIDI track, and I can basically revoice the melody line. Just would have sounded a little bit too safe and boring without vocal synth. Not interesting enough. Okay, and that's pretty much the whole production thus far. I still consider this to be very much in production still. It's not finished, but it's definitely well on its way. Anyway, I hope you guys got something from this. I'm Dan from Pro Tools Expert, and I'll see you again soon.